sun peeks through the haze. Birds are chirping, serenading morning's praise. Front porch creaks as dreams fade away. America's awakened to a brand new day. Old vinyl spinning a sweet old tune. Day starts dancing under a sleepy moon. Newsprint smudges on fingers of grace. America's awakened at her own steady pace. Sips of sunshine in a coffee cup. Simple moments lifting spirits up. From the mountains to the sandy shore. Morning in America, want just a little more. Neighbors waving with a friendly rise. Kids with backpacks chasing daylight skies. Eyes cooling on a windowsill so fine. America's awakened with a heart full of shine. Old vinyl spinning a sweet old tune. Day starts dancing under a sleepy moon. Newsprint smudges on fingers of grace. America's awakened at her own steady pace. Sips of sunshine in a coffee cup. Simple moments lifting spirits up. From the mountains to the sandy shore. Morning in America, wanting just a little more. Neighbors waving with a friendly rise. Kids with backpacks chasing daylight skies. Eyes cooling on a windowsill so fine. America's awakened with a heart full of shine. Neighbors waving with a friendly rise. Kids with backpacks chasing daylight skies. Eyes cooling on a windowsill so fine. America's awakened with a heart full of shine. Tractors rumble, fields coming alive. Big wheels turning where hopes and dreams strive. Laughter echoes down the old dirt road. America's awakened to lighten her load. America's awakened to lighten her load.
There we go. Sorry. I was having a couple issues this morning. It wasn't going out on Rumble, still not. Because the way Restream is, you have to like every month go in and say, yes, I authorize these things. And I hadn't done that. So yeah, I didn't have the thing on right away. That's my fault. Because I was distracted. So I'm not streaming on all the platforms that I normally do. Primarily Rumble, and I don't know if my Facebook stream, it doesn't appear to be going out, so that's a problem. Oh, no, Facebook is now going out. Okay, so now I can share that. So yeah, I was just dealing with a couple technical issues this morning, so, but looks like some of them have gotten fixed. Let's go through and see who's here. Did you guys bring your coffee? I have my coffee. Let's top off. Get a good warmer. Let's see. We've got Veteran Firefighter. Good morning. We've got Hellhound. Good morning. We've got Cassandra. Good morning. Good to see you, Cassandra. We got James Rinkovich. Good morning. Good to see you. Who else? Who else we got here? Voss. Voss is here, so good morning. I'm going to send a very nasty text to Bestie because she was, are you going to stream today? I was like, yeah, I'm going to. I told her I'm streaming. There we go. Uh, so yeah, uh, so Bestie was like, "Are you gonna stream?" Yes, I am. I had to get through my morning stuff, which I had a coyote this morning. Normally they walk up and down the road and they'll look at my property, but they never I get notifications when they do it, and I always watch on my cameras. They never come up in here. But I have an amazing voice in my head while I'm looking for car parts. Whose voice? Um, but yeah, so the coyotes never come in my yard, but I've had a problem with my irrigation system, so I actually put a sprinkler, and it goes outside of my thing. And the coyote, I saw him up near my fence, so I think he was looking for some water. I think he was a little bit thirsty. So I got a video. I might post it. I might not. I don't know. So yeah, that's some of the stuff that I'm doing this morning. It's funny. I'm getting man. We got quite a few people in here for some of my stream not streaming out to the places I want. We got quite a few people in here. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you guys. I do have some stories. I do have some stories and stuff prepared. Here, let's go on over this way. Which, by the way, I do have a couple new graphics for the show. I've got this
To
one.
Disneyland! To Disneyland!
I love that little girl. She's older now. She is older now. And then I've got this sound.
For a yellow-eyed, gamey-smelling lowlife, you really have quite a decent heart about you, sir.
So yeah, I've been working on the board a little bit more. Um, I do have this intro too. So I've got that. So if I need to take a break and I want to show something, I'll just turn that on. That is the Langley School's music project was it was this guy had failed and he was trying to like be a musician and he hadn't done very well. So he went up to Langley Schools, which I believe is up in either Washington or Oregon, back in the mid 70s, and he sold the students and the sold the school and the students on, hey, let's get all the students, we'll record an album, and then we'll sell it to the parents. Well, years later, people had bought it, it had been forgotten about, and someone discovered it at a thrift shop. They found the vinyl in a thrift shop, and they started tracking down the people associated with it. And but then they brought uh, it brought a lot of attention because for a lot of people, the songs and the kids singing brought it was a lot of nostalgia. It literally is a snapshot in time of a certain time and place. And for a lot of the students that they showed it to, they're like, wow, this brings back so many memories. And they even showed it to some of the artists whose uh, songs were done. And the big one, hey AVA, good to see you. Greg of Scotland, good to see you. And the big one was what was uh, I'm seeing his damn it, sang Major Tom. I'm drawing a blank on his name. I begins I keep thinking of the artist Donovan, but it's not Donovan. It's David Bowie. David Bowie. They played it. They gave an album of it to David Bowie to listen to because they played Major Tom in it, and the kids sang it, and he was like, "This is." He's like, "This is the greatest thing out of all of the stuff I've done musically. The fact that I was able to inspire these kids, hopefully inspire them to, you know, do more musically and artistically." He's like, this is the greatest present. And they had this whole interview with him where he was like, this touches me, that to know that my music touched other people like this. And it's a really cool thing. And so yeah, yeah, Space Oddity. That's the official name of the song. But so yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. But I just like it because they're all very catchy tunes, and with a lot of them, you can tell the kids are really into it, and that's the thing. Like when people are into stuff, it means so much more. It means so much more. Broke your car already? You know what? Speaking of car, I had car problems yesterday. I know everyone was like, "When are you going to stream?" And I had streaming issues yesterday. I uh went and got into my car and it wouldn't start and I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?" And very quickly I was like, at first I thought it was my key fob because it was telling me it was not reading my key. So I went next to where I work, there's like a little convenience store. I went there and bought new batteries, put them in my key fob, still not working. And I was like, okay, I live out here in the desert. This is a battery. So called the roadside assistance came, gave me a jump, drove immediately to AutoZone and replaced the battery. So that was my car issues yesterday. But I started thinking about it, I'm like, I bought this car new. It's been almost 4 years. Yeah, it's about time out here. My old car, I got 2 years out of a battery, like almost to the day a couple times. It was like 2 years. Okay, yeah, I need a new battery. So the fact that I got four out of that one, I'm pretty happy. What do you want, dog? This dog is crazy. You look crazy. You've been itching your face, and now all of your fur is like all over the place. Was the sensor dirty? No, no, it was just needed a new battery. So, and I give my buddy a ride into work every day. So we were changing out the battery at AutoZone ourselves, and we're in there, and he's taking the lead. Like he's like, no, no, you hold this, and I'm like, okay. So I just start sitting there, and I started messing with him. I was like, "Am I holding the flashlight good, Dad?" And he's like, "I'm gonna fucking punch you." But all right, let's get to the story because I've had it up here the whole time. You were already at the parts store. Why didn't you have them test the battery? Because it was a 4-year-old battery. I I know that the battery was not good. Like 4 years old out here, this dry climate. Oh, it will drain your battery. All right. So this story here I saw, Sophie said yesterday that after donating 1 million to Mr. Beast's clean drinking water project, she showed him the screenshot on Instagram. According to her, he replied with thank you, but later said they might need to return the money because the way of earning it wasn't considered pure and asked how the refund could be processed. She then claimed that after Mr. Beast sent the 1 million back, he immediately blocked her on Instagram. So this is her, Sophie Rain. Um, she does OnlyFans. She's a content creator, also does OnlyFans. Sophie Rain donated 1 million to Mr. Beast's Team Water, turning online fame into real world wells that bring safe water to people who need it most, which is a great, great thing. All these people are talking about the climate. It's not even close. The biggest issue we're ever going to have is not enough clean drinking water. I live in the tight desert. Batteries always fail after 3 years. Yeah, yep. With my old car, because it had a smaller battery, 2 years. But this one is a bigger battery, which, $229. Oof. I was so used to paying $50 for a battery. But that's okay. But yeah, so good on Mr. Beast because Mr. Beast has had some issues in the past of like his one buddy that he streamed with turned out to be a perv, and there was other stuff going on. So Mr. Beast, he's fully aware of, his responsibilities because kids watch his show. Okay. So good on Mr. Beast for not accepting this money. And yeah, for these women who uh now people are saying Sophia Rain has not claimed Mr. Beast refunded her 1 million due to its source or blocked her. She denied rumors of requesting a refund and confirmed her support for Team Water. The donation was accepted and stands. That's in the community note. So this was not here when when I posted this. So, interesting. So now I don't know what the thing is. I hope Mr. Beast does reject any money that was taken in for OnlyFans. Not all auto parts stores stock the right battery. I was at Walmart when mine died. They didn't have it in stock. Yeah, thankfully they had different types, but the $220 one was the cheapest. Which, if it lasts for 4 years, I'll take it. If that one lasts for 4 years, I will definitely take it. So, the next story, this one comes from The Guardian. But yeah, so after all the stuff with ICE and Minnesota, finally, the left has something to claim. And this has been going on, what, a year? But an ICE agent was charged with assault in Minnesota for allegedly pointing a gun at motorists. Prosecutors say this is the first criminal case against a federal agent involved in Trump's immigration crackdown. Well, already on its face, I am going to tell you these charges are going to get, they're going to be pulled into federal court and then dropped on its face. But let's get into the story. Let's look at the details. An ICE agent has been charged with assault for allegedly pointing his gun at people in a car while driving on a Minnesota highway, prosecutors in Minnesota said on Thursday. And that is true. If you point a weapon at someone, that is assault. You can even, just a threat with a weapon can be assault. And that's what people don't realize. Like, there are things that you can do, like blowing a whistle in a woman's ear, that is assault. In some states, getting in someone's personal space with intent to intimidate is assault. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty said she believed it was the first criminal case brought against a federal immigration officer involved in the Trump administration's immigration crackdown that surged federal authorities into cities including LA, Chicago, Portland, New Orleans. An arrest warrant says Gregory Donald Morgan Jr. was charged with 2 counts of second-degree aggravated assault. The warrant says Morgan was working as an immigration and customs enforcement officer in Minneapolis, again on February 5th, when he pointed a gun at the occupants of a vehicle on Minnesota State Highway 62. Again, I am not seeing anything so far that says that these charges are going to stand, but let's continue. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, Justice Department officials didn't immediately respond to emails seeking comment. The Associated Press called a number associated with Morgan and sent a message to his possible email address, but did not receive any immediate response. Moriarty said during a news conference that Morgan was driving a rented unmarked SUV on the shoulder of a highway when a car on the road moved into the shoulder to try and slow Morgan down, not knowing he was a federal officer. After the car returned into the legal lane, Morgan pulled up alongside, pointed his service weapon at people in the car. Morgan and his partner, who was not charged, were on the way to the federal building to end their shift when they were caught in traffic. Charging documents note Morgan did not say the indictment occurred during an enforcement action. According to the charging documents, Morgan... okay, so now we're starting to get a little bit more. Hey, it's me. Well, we'll get to that. Morgan... charging documents note Morgan did not say the incident occurred during enforcement action. According to the charging documents, Morgan told Minnesota State Patrol officer he pulled up alongside the victim's vehicle, drew his firearm, and yelled, "Police, stop." The warrant said the victims couldn't hear him because their windows were up. Morgan was charged with 2 counts of assault because he threatened both people in the vehicle. There is a warrant out for his arrest, Moriarty said. She said Morgan's actions were beyond the scope of a federal officer's authority. There is no such thing as absolute immunity for federal agents who violate the law in the state of Minnesota. In Minnesota, felony second-degree assault is punishable by up to 7 years in prison or up to 10 years imprisonment for if the assault inflicted substantial bodily harm. Okay, now that we have the facts of this as they're being presented, these charges are getting dropped. So charging in Hennepin County a federal officer is inappropriate. That is not the correct place to charge. So it doesn't matter that she's saying that his actions were beyond the scope of a federal officer's authority. It does not matter. As they note here, He was on their way to the federal building to end their shift. Okay, so he was in the process of being on shift, which means in the course of his duties. So the appropriate place to charge for anything is federal court, not Hennepin County Court. So that's strike one. Strike two, according to what the federal agents said, he drew his firearm and yelled, "Police, stop." Okay. So right there, again, within the course of his duties. So uh I as the facts are being presented here by the Guardian, these charges are getting dropped. You can't a state cannot charge a federal agent in the course of their duties for something that is in the course of their duties. Can't do it. So this big win that all these liberals were out there talking about and like, see, yeah, this is gonna be a loss. Like this is gonna be immediate a filing for federal jurisdiction, which will be accepted. And then with that, there'll be a counter motion for dismissal, which will also be accepted. This is not and this agent does have now a potential lawsuit against Hennepin County. He does have a lawsuit if he were to, because he could say that they were doing things inappropriately to violate his civil rights. They were outing him as an officer. There's a lot of different things that he could now sue Hennepin County for. So I'm going to make a prediction. It's April. This will be dismissed by July. There's going to be a federal motion that, no, this is jurisdiction. The federal court will assume jurisdiction. I don't even. You might get a county judge who says, yeah, this is federal jurisdiction. I'm going to dismiss these charges. You need to file them in federal court, or this will be taken in front of a federal judge who will say, yes, I need jurisdiction of this, and then he will assume jurisdiction. The case will then be moved to federal court, where it will then be dismissed. I will accept donation. It saves lives. Who gives a crap where it came from? As long as no, because Ed, I understand what you're saying, but imagine if it was Jeffrey Epstein, who made money off of Who made money off of stuff with kids. So imagine it was that. I don't think anyone would be good with that. The driver of the other vehicle should be charged with obstruction of a law enforcement officer. I don't think the driver should, at least based on the facts that we have, James. But I would say 100% the prosecutor could. That's another thing that the prosecutor could potentially be charged with, potentially. Okay, it's me asked, what do you think we can balance the budget if we rid ourselves of fraud? I think there's plenty of ways to balance the budget. I think we can balance the budget on tariffs alone. We're a consumer economy. Yeah, we could absolutely do that. I'm strongly in favor of passing the balanced budget amendment, which would require the federal government to balance the budget. So there we go with that story. Then we got this one, this video. Holy shit. Okay. So this one, I'll read to you. A man got fed up with a trans man harassing him and touching him repeatedly on the bus, so he taught him a lesson. He won't do that again. This is, with all these crazy trans people, they do all this shit and then play the victim.
Princess looks more like a prince to me.
So I've seen this time and time again. A lot of these trans people are just sexual predators. I'll just be honest. A lot of them. It's mental illness, and they are. I don't like the OF thing, but comparing her to Jeff is kind of crazy. I'm just giving that as an example of if the money's coming from somewhere that you don't agree, that you know you should be mindful of it, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they're equal things. Just using an example that you shouldn't say I don't care where the money comes from. You should. Um, yeah, California libtards want to make it illegal to uncover fraud. I don't see that Nick Shirley law passing. I don't see it pass. It's unconstitutional, even if it does. Hell, if I had an attorney who wanted to, if that law passes and there's an attorney who watches this show who wants someone, I'm a California journalist. I will absolutely take steps so that I have a lawsuit to challenge. So, just putting it out there. Same thing with California gun laws. If any attorney out there wants a client and wants to challenge these gun laws, let's work together. So yeah, this is harassment. This is harassment. Touching people is harassment. Unwanted touching? Absolutely. There's no reason to keep your hand like that. This is just to annoy.
Keep fucking touching me. Keep fucking touching me. Keep fucking touching me. Touch me again. Touch me again. Touch me again. Touch me again. Touch me again.
Right? Like,
The
seriously.
Disneyland! The
Seriously.
Disneyland!
Why?
The Disneyland!
Stop screwing with people.
So long, gay boys.
Gay!
What do you expect? Can we try that lawsuit in Kern County? Actually, in any lawsuit, any California lawsuit, you can bring in any county. Absolutely. Some you'll get favorable things, some you'll get unfavorable things. If I do it, if I don't do a federal lawsuit, which I think that would be the best, do a federal lawsuit. Don't even mess with the state lawsuit. I would, if I had an attorney who was like, yeah, let's challenge this, I would file a federal lawsuit. Glendale is where the closest um, federal court is from me. And yeah, and here's the thing. A lot of people are like, it's the Ninth Circuit. The Ninth Circuit has changed. The Ninth Circuit is almost 50-50 liberals and not liberals. And a lot of that is because of the states. The Fourth Circuit's the worst court currently. The Fourth Circuit and the DC. But DC's been doing some good opinions. They, in fact, I'll pull it up. They just reversed Boasberg. So I'll pull that one up. But yeah, the Ninth Circuit is not just California. It's California, Oregon, Washington. Those are the liberal states, but also Idaho, Utah, Nevada, and Arizona. That is the Ninth Circuit. Here, let me switch to that. But yeah, I'm just trying to pull up. Nope. Sorry, I'm looking for the story. I'm gonna have to do it as under latest, which I don't like doing. I'm sorry, I'm looking for a story. I'm looking for the Okay, now I'm gonna have to go into Google. Sorry, guys. I was not expecting to talk about this. There we go. The Ninth Circuit shut down the CW that can perjure in state court. The CW. Hey, I see Brett and Teresa in here. Welcome, welcome. Well, the Ninth Circuit. So people don't understand how these judges get selected. So we'll talk about that. So when, like, here's why the Fourth Circuit is the worst, because it's Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, maybe Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So all very liberal states. Okay. Now, for you to get a judge on the bench, a federal judge, they has to go through what's known as the blue slip process, and the blue slip process is the senators from those states, they create a blue slip list and say these are the judges in my state that we're okay with. Like, you can pick anyone from these, and that's from that is how the president will then nominate them. So when you have states that are very blue states with Democrat senators and a Republican president, that's how you get, some of these, because people are like, oh, it was a Trump nominated judge. Well, that doesn't really mean anything because, yeah, it's a Trump nominated judge from a Democrat approved list. So that's how you get Trump and Bush nominating these Democrat judges. Just because they're nominating doesn't mean they're Republican or anywhere close to Republican leaning. What the Republicans do is they go through the list and they try to figure out who are the most, what am I trying to say? The most the least worst on that list. That's how they do it. Well, with the Ninth Circuit, most of the states are not blue states. There's 4 red states, 3 blue states. And so the Ninth Circuit, I think it literally has a 1 liberal judge minority or majority right now. But that only means something for when cases go en banc. And that means it's going to go through the 16, I believe Ninth Circuit has 16 or 17 judges. So when it goes en banc, it's going to go in front of all those judges, which are the appeals court judges. Normally, it goes in front of a 3-judge panel. And those 3 judges are part of the en banc panel. So you can be a federal judge and then get appointed to the appeals court. And when you're appointed to the appeals court, you're going to handle appeals cases with 2 other judges. And if it goes en banc, then with the rest of them. Ninth Circuit has 17. I believe that's the number. It's been a while since I've really looked into this, but I have looked into it before, and I have some knowledge on this. So right now, 17 judges. So that means there's 9 liberals, 8 conservatives. Okay. Which it used to be like 15, like it used to be very lopsided back because Obama was able to stack the court. But it's since, like people retired and stuff. So now it's swung back. I would say it's probably about 50-50 now. So if you are in California and you have a judge who they ruled one way or another, now you're going to appeal it, it's going to go in front of a 3-judge panel and the makeup is going to be from any of those 17 judges. So now you have a 50-50 shot of getting a conservative court or a liberal court. In the Fourth Circuit, because those are all Democrat states with Democrat-controlled senators, you're pretty much just going to get nothing but liberals. That is the worst court. And same thing with D.C., because how many conservatives live in D.C.? Not many. And so that's how the makeup of these courts happen. So I know people are like, oh, the Ninth Circuit's the worst. It's really not. It's actually, many cases, it's favorable. A 50-50 shot is really great. It is. Now, for a lot of these gun cases, and that's why I'm really happy about what Virginia is doing about guns. And people are like, how can you be happy about that? Oh, I'm happy, and here's why. Virginia's putting all these crazy uh, rules on guns. Well, that is I want to say that's the fifth court, which is Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina, I want to say. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it's North Carolina and Delaware. I think it's that grouping right there. Well, that court, there's red states, and Virginia is a blue state or a purple state. So the chances of getting and like while Maryland and also Delaware are blue states, they don't like the judges to pick from are not always like the liberal. It's not like up in Massachusetts or here in California that you do get a mix. So that that Fifth Circuit is not I believe it's the fifth. It's not a crazy court. Okay, so Maryland has some crazy gun laws, which are right now up at the appeals court level. They're about to go to Supreme Court. And then Virginia is now also taking these steps. So the chance of us getting a favorable appeals court is pretty good. So here's why you want a favorable appeals court, because then you get a ruling in your favor. Okay. And if it's something that, like with a lot of these gun cases, they're going to go to the Supreme Court. They absolutely are. The Supreme Court's pretty much already said we're looking for more gun cases because everyone keeps screwing up the most recent gun decisions, like New York Rifle Pistol Club, the Bruin decision, and also the Heller decision out of D.C. So they keep screwing up these gun cases. So the Supreme Court's going to keep taking them until these district court judges stop. So that's why it's good to go in front of the Fifth Circuit Court, because see, you have these other places like Fourth Circuit, which is New England. They'll take they'll be like, no, it's this, and now there's a crazy decision. But then if the fifth rules opposite, now you have a circuit split. The fourth thinks this, the fifth thinks this. And that circuit split is good because that means the Supreme Court has to take it up. The Supreme Court has to decide circuit splits. Grew up in Virginia, never go back there. Right? I don't blame you. There are parts of Virginia that are great, really great. But there are some crazy parts. Like I lived in Nova, which is the crazy parts. Yeah. So much illegal immigration in Nova. That was one thing I was shocked about. So, ICE is going to take a stand on a lot of that stuff. Okay. All right. I'm getting. But I do want to talk about this case. This is a Fox News case, but you can read, like a lot of places, reported on this. So Boasberg, he's an activist judge. He's out of D.C. Every chance he gets, he rules against the Trump administration. If you remember a year ago, Trump was deporting people, and they were judge shopping, is what was happening. And they brought a class action lawsuit in D.C. for people who were detained in Texas. They don't have jurisdiction. But that's why they were trying to do it as a class action lawsuit. And he was accepting the case and was going forward, and the D.C. appeals court jumped in and said, yeah, you can't do this as a class action. And they sent it back down to him, and he then issued an injunction, which then I'm pretty sure I'm explaining all this right. The Trump administration then went directly to the Supreme Court, because they can do that, and they said, get rid of this injunction. This is ridiculous. This guy's going against even his own appeals court. So they came in and said, yeah, you can't stop these deportations under class action. That's not the jurisdiction of this court. Whether or not they get deported or not, that goes into the immigration court, and the immigration court of where the people are being held has jurisdiction, and that would be in Texas. So the case got dismissed. However, while that injunction was in place, from when the appeals court shot him down. He put in the injunction, and then it went to the Supreme Court. He then had all these things that he wanted the Supreme Court to do. Okay, and or not the Supreme Court. All these things that he wanted the administration to do. Well, they didn't do them because they were like, yeah, this is clearly false and illegal. Well, he then held them in contempt. Okay, so while the case was lost, he now is going against the administration by doing everything by saying, well, I don't have jurisdiction in the case, but I have jurisdiction of the contempt of court. Okay, which, by the way, I'm going to make some changes to this here. I'm just going to widen this a little bit for you guys. There we go. I don't want to. I just want to take it to there. There we go. So, all right. So that's, he was going forward with the contempt of court. Here's what it finally went. Was this the Supreme Court? No, this was the DC Appeals Court. So his appeals court and the Supreme Court have both shut this guy down once before. And now we finally have that the Blanche torches Trump foe Boasberg after appeals court blocks judge again in deportation fight. Senator Eric Schmidt calls on House to impeach the rogue judge over his handling of the immigration case. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche tore into Judge James Boasberg on Tuesday, accusing him of targeting DOJ attorneys after an appellate court rebuked the Obama-appointed judge for a second time in an ongoing immigration case. Today's decision by the D.C. Circuit should finally end Judge Boasberg's year-long campaign against the hardworking department attorneys doing their jobs fighting illegal immigration, Blanche said in a statement. Criticism from Blanche, newly appointed as acting AG by President Donald Trump, intensified scrutiny of a judge frequently in the president's crosshairs after a D.C. federal appeals court panel issued a 2-1 decision blocking yet again Boasberg's contempt investigation into Trump officials. This guy's just against Trump and is just trying to derail Trump's agenda. That's all this guy's doing. None of this is based in legal precedent. He's just trying. This is one of those guys where the ends justify the means. He's going to go after Trump any way he can. And he's been doing it for a year. Other Republicans and conservative legal experts echoed Blanche's remarks, underscoring how Boasberg, chief judge of the D.C. federal court, has been a repeated thorn to Trump's agenda. Another day, another reversal of Judge Boasberg, wrote George Mason University law professor Rob Luther. Yeah, this guy is a joke. Judge Boasberg is a joke. Senator Eric Schmidt, Missouri resurfaced Republican calls for Boasberg's impeachment, an effort that is currently stalled in the House. D.C. Circuit. Here's the thing about impeachment. I know a lot of people are like, impeach him, impeach him. If impeachment is a trial and it stops a lot of the work of the House and the Senate, and I get why people want impeachment, but if you don't have the votes and you're not close to the votes for, what do I say, to find them guilty, it's just a waste of time. Because some of these people are like, well, we'll do the trial and then you find them guilty. That only swings a couple people. So I'm not about wasting time and money, stalling the agenda for this. Just let the courts. This guy is just making himself, he's making himself a fool. He'll never go any higher. He'll never be an appeals court judge. He's never going to be a Supreme Court judge. He's made himself a fool. And history is going to judge him that way. D.C. court ruled his contempt crusade against Trump officials is an improper investigation. True. Clear abuse of discretion. True. He tried to imprison Trump officials for deporting Venezuelan gang members. I'm calling on the House to impeach rogue Judge Boasberg. And in addition to raising the possibility of criminal contempt against Trump officials, an offense punishable by fines, jail, or other sanctions, Boasberg recently blocked the DOJ's ability to subpoena Federal Reserve Jerome Powell, alleging in the investigation's sole purpose was to pressure Fed to lower interest rates. So again, he's just trying to block everything, but he's just making himself look like an ass to the Supreme Court and the appeals court. And the appeals court doesn't want to be made to look like an ass in front of the Supreme Court. So that's why they're knocking this guy down. So yeah, this is it's just a judge who's being ridiculous. The thing I find funny, though, is there's a judge here in California who is jokingly called Saint Benitez because he's a very, very pro Second Amendment judge. And the left here calls him an activist judge for literally following the Supreme Court's precedent in Bruin and Heller. Oh, that makes me laugh. Makes me laugh. So yeah, there was those things. I didn't have that one prepared, so I appreciate you guys for reminding me of it. What is this? Pulling up another. So I'll talk about this one. I don't know if so Georgie sent me this. I don't know if I absolutely agree with this. I haven't read a whole lot about it. There are crazy laws proposed by the left and those proposed by the right. But I've never really looked into this, but let's read it. The judges in the Flynn case should have been impeached. Again, if you don't have the senators to do impeachment, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. Because then they're not going to they'll get impeached, they'll be put on trial, and they'll be acquitted. And then they get to say, haha, I was acquitted. Just like Trump. That's why impeachment of Trump was such a mistake. Here, the impeachment with Trump was an absolute mistake. They did it twice. He was acquitted twice. So he gets to say, yeah, they impeached me twice, but I was acquitted twice. Ultimately, everyone agreed with me. And he then gets to have the moral high ground. That's why a lot of these people who just want impeachments, no, it's a waste of time. If you don't have the votes, it's a waste of time. College students who stage walkouts or protests to cause a disruption during a campus event could be suspended or expelled under a bill headed to the governor's desk. Okay, so just based upon this line, see, when I first heard about this, I thought that it was potentially unconstitutional. But you can do walkouts, you can stage a protest, but if it's to cause a disruption, that's so my right to speech doesn't trump anyone else's right. So if someone else is holding a campus demonstration, I can't disrupt it. I can hold my own. I can do a counter protest, but I can't disrupt theirs. And that is constitutional. In fact, the Supreme Court has talked about this, and it's a legal term. It's called the heckler's veto, which, by the way, hold on here. I'll get through this, and it reminds me of a story from my local hometown that I love. This one went viral, man, almost 20 years ago, but I'll talk about that next. The bill is named after conservative activist Charlie Kirk, who lawmakers say frequented college and university campuses to encourage debate and discussion. A good thing. Kirk was assassinated last September. The bill strengthens that free speech policy so we can ensure that the public debate at our public colleges and universities is civil and robust. Under the legislation, public colleges and universities will be required to sign the University of Chicago's free speech policy and would be banned from shielding students from controversial, unpopular, or offensive opinions just because people don't like them. The bill would also bar colleges and universities from uninviting a guest speaker of protests or opposition. So far, I can tell you I do like this because, yeah, just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean you get to drown them out. And again, it's called the heckler's veto. This is where, okay, so far, I'm on board with this law because this is going to give people an added way to hold others accountable. This is going to hold students accountable. It'll hold campuses accountable. And this is why you guys should all, I understand people don't like qualified immunity. The solution is not because you're never going to win the case law against qualified immunity. The Supreme Court has already said, no, there's qualified immunity. And I get people don't like it. What you need to do is petition your state to put a law defining qualified immunity within your states. Give it limitations. Give it limitations. Give it a left and right lateral limits. So that way, yeah, you have qualified immunity, but it only fits within these. And then you create a process of the same bill that to evaluate if qualified immunity exists. But just letting the case law out there. So, this is I've got a very good friend who he's trying to change a law that affects veterans. And he's focused on only two things with it. He's focused only with getting a federal law passed and also with getting the court to change the case law. And I told him, I said, look, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't see the case law getting changed. Not at all. These courts don't like creating precedent unless they feel they need to. So I don't see them changing the case law, especially in a place like California here. Like, California hates veterans. The liberals hate military and veterans. They'll use them. And I've given plenty of examples of this over time. But they hate military and veterans. That's why they'll take people like what's her name? Or what's his name? They did it with Tulsi Gabbard, which her military service didn't impress me. And then what's his name? Buttigieg. That Buttigieg was a jag. Same thing with Kinzinger. Kinzinger had something, and they always, oh, this is a hero. With Tim Walz, oh, this is a hero. And then you get into it, like, they didn't really do anything. Yeah, they were a veteran, but their service is no better than mine, which means their opinion on veteran stuff is no better than mine. But liberals will try to say, well, I don't know what I'm talking about as a veteran because Buttigieg was a veteran. Like, no. So, yeah, you see this stuff. And, you're going to have better luck. It's going to be a bitch to get 50 states to pass a law on qualified immunity or on anything else, like the veteran thing. But that's going to be the best way to succeed. It absolutely is. It takes a lot of time and effort, but once you get it, you focus on one state and then you're like, hey, we did this here, let's do it other places. If anyone wants to like, here's the thing, everyone wants me to like pick up the banner and fucking like pick up the flag and charge first, but on all these issues. But the thing is, rarely ever do people like stand with me. They'll say they do, but they really don't. But I'll tell you this, people who are like, hey, I'm going to change the laws in California, and they bring it to me, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I had that state senator that I was talking with their office. I was also talking with the family attorney in Nevada about the state National Guard getting Sixth Amendment protections, because people don't realize, and I didn't realize until it was pointed out to me, that National Guard do not have a right to court martial. They don't. It's all if the state wants to give it to them, that's how they get it. But for every other military member, something else happens, you have a right to court martial, and I think that's bullshit. So if anyone wants to change that, hey, I will absolutely, in your state, I will highlight you. I will do everything to fight with you and support you and bring my audience to try to support you. But people, it's just like these people who are like, Skipper, you should reopen your nonprofit and do tiny homes. Okay, yeah, but if I do that, I won't have time to do this. Okay? And honestly, I think the tiny homes for veterans are great. I do. But for me, it's not the solution. It's a part of the solution, but it's not the solution. But a lot of people seem to think it's the solution, and I disagree. I'll support those who are doing tiny homes for veterans. I absolutely will. I've supported tons of nonprofits here on this on this platform. You guys know I support the Battle Buddies app. Like, literally, I'm a mentor there. I will support all these things and use my platform to do it. However, a lot of people want me to do all this other things, not realizing I would not be able to do this show. So that's my take on that. How many times do I have to close this frickin' this thing that keeps opening? So yeah, so far as I read about this law, I support this law because it's what it is it's codifying the heckler the prevent the I'm trying to think. Codifying stopping the use of the heckler's veto. Tunnels to towers is great, is what Brett is saying. I've never used them. I don't know people who have. I know what's publicly out there. I can't say for sure. I can tell you I was very critical of Wounded Warrior Project, and I know a very good veteran friend who has benefited from them. So I will sing Wounded Warrior's praises, Wounded Warrior Project's praises, because Wounded Warrior is also now a military term because they actually have battalions of Wounded Warriors, which I think is a great thing. I think we need to be studying how the UK military does things because they've been at this with PTSD longer than what we have. But I'll say, yeah, so far the heckler's veto is not a good thing. Like, yeah, the solution to free speech is more free speech, but you shouldn't allow one person's free speech to drown out another's. And that also goes to the tyranny of the majority. Like, a lot of these people a lot of these liberals are like, oh, this is the end of democracy. First off, it's not. Trump is not the end of democracy. That's the first thing. Second thing is, we are not a pure democracy. We are a constitutional representative democracy, which is a good thing because of tyranny of the majority. Because if it was a true majority, then I can get everybody to vote against you. Hey everyone, let's all take a vote today that Jim shouldn't have free speech rights. Does everybody agree? And well, it doesn't affect me, so yeah, I'll vote for that. And now Jim loses rights. That's why a pure democracy is not ideal. The tyranny of the majority is what it's called. Let's see through some of this stuff. Oh yeah, I did show you guys that. Did I show you that I added? Yeah, I believe I did. I've been just adding things to the soundboard. I'm looking at USA Today. Jesus, there's not many good stories. Oh my God. I'm going to show this one. This is just ridiculous. From the Epstein files to ousting colleagues, women in Congress are flexing their power. The pair of congresswomen who helped force out 2 male lawmakers accused of sexual misconduct and extramarital affairs told USA Today that ethics should be a bipartisan issue. It should be a bipartisan issue. So, Ruben Gallego should be forced to resign from the Senate because Carrie Lake was talking about his sexual inappropriate behavior when she was running. And we now have proof he was there with Swalwell. Yeah. I'm trying to see what 2 women that they're Anna Paula Luna and Teresa Liger Fernandez. Yeah, here's the thing. We knew about a lot of these guys to begin with. So why were you silent? Why were you silent and just went along with it? What the hell are y'all doing up in here? You know what we're doing here, Harry? We're causing freaking chaos. That's what we're doing. So yeah, that's just stop with the, oh, women are much better law. No, just stop. There are women who are bad lawmakers too. So yeah, whenever they put forth these things with an agenda like that, it's like just stop. Visiting Disney World may cost you more next year. So Disney just had to lay off 1,000 employees. They're uh, they've been losing money on the movies for years, and see now the theme parks are taking a hit because I love going to Disney. I loved it for years. I loved taking my son, but now I have to deal with Disney adults, which are emotionally stunted fat people who, oh, I love Disney. I'm gonna go and I feel entitled to everything. So yeah, with Disney, they're expanding ticket prices as they cut people. Disney, you have lost your way. You have lost your way. You need to get back to families. Families are why all these corporations are abandoning children. Okay, and I'll give you some examples. There's Disney. They haven't completely given up the ghost. Okay, Disney, they've been catering to these Disney adults, but uh, they haven't abandoned children. Disney is very overpriced. It is, but here's the thing: when I used to take my son, it was highly priced, but I did feel I got the value for my money. I will say that. Like when I went to Disney and I was paying a lot of money for a meal, it was enough food that it filled me up. So I didn't feel ripped off. But the last time I went to Disney with my family and an 18-year-old fucking adult jumped in front of my 8-year-old nephew, well, actually, I think he was like 10 or 12, jumped in front of him to meet Chewbacca. Yeah, that's a problem. Like you as the adult, that's not for Disney is not for you. It's for the kids. And if you're not like Disney should be enhancing the experience for kids. When we went to build lightsabers. Me, my mom, my son, my nephew. So me and my mom were just there with the kids. Okay, they're the ones building. My son and my nephew are the ones building lightsabers. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted a lightsaber, and it was expensive. It was like $100. It was expensive. There was only one other kid in there of probably 20 people building lightsabers. So it was emotionally stunted adults. I'm a 48-year-old man. Well, about to be a 48-year-old man. I love Disney. I do. I think it's great for kids. I've loved Star Wars my whole life. I grew up with it. That was my childhood. Us playing Star Wars. I don't need a lightsaber. I definitely don't need a lightsaber where the whole experience should be for kids. I think Disney should do what Legoland does. You guys realize you can't. Me as an adult, if I show up to Legoland, I can't get in. I can't get in without a kid. That's the way it should be for Disney. Good on Legoland. I'll give Legoland my money before I will Disney right now. I've only been once, some 20 years ago. Packed a cooler for meals and drinks. You can actually take you can't, I don't know about a cooler. I know you can take a soft cooler, but you can take drinks and snacks in. That you can do. We used to do that all the time. My son, still to this day, always wants his water bottle with him. So we always go places and we take a empty water bottle, which I love doing when I fly, by the way. I always fly. I go into the airport with an empty water bottle. There's always somewhere for me to fill up with water. And I'll just do that and just have it on I'll just have it on the plane just in case. Because there's been times where I have been in little fuzz, sorry there. I've been on, planes where you taxi and then you're waiting because there's some issue. And the other thing is planes run out of drinks. I've been on long flights that have run out of drinks and food. So I take snacks with me, especially flying. But yeah, Disney, you can take a water bottle. You can fill it up at a drinking fountain. Uh, baby strollers used to be secret stash. Well, you like I've taken bags in, and they make you open your bags, and yep, here's all of our snacks and water, and like I I don't take in like I don't think you can take in like cans of Coke or anything like that. But what I do is I get the little drink packets and I take those in with my water. That's what I do. Uh, and I'm perfectly fine. That's how you do Disney affordable. The other thing, I'll tell you guys my other Disney hack. Because at night, if you take your kids to Disney, what does Disney do? They have the parade, and at the time of the parade, they sell all the shit that lights up. Here's what I do before I go to Disney. I go to the dollar store and I get glow sticks and stuff, because what's $5 in glow sticks, you know? And then when they pull out all that stuff, what I would do is I'd be like, "Oh, you stay here and keep our spot for the parade. I'll go get us something that lights up." And I'd just go take my little bag, open the glow sticks, and come back. And be like, "Look, I got you glow sticks." And I did that one time, and there was this family next to us, and they were like, "That is so smart." They're like, "We wish we would have." And I was like, "I've got extras." And I started giving them glow sticks. They're like, "Oh my God, this is awesome." I was like, they're like, "We'll pay you." I'm like, I went to the dollar store. I went to the dollar store. Like, they had two kids. I think I gave them each two glow sticks. I'm like, that's a total of $4. I'm here at Disney. I can afford $4. Like, but Disney catering to these Disney adults. Have you seen these people? They're ridiculous. And there's even plus size Disney adults. Yeah, you're just a fat pig. You're just. Uh,
Oh, wait. Was she a great big fat person?
yeah, these people who do this, they're just ridiculous. Like, there are times. Look, I'm not gonna just fat shame someone just because, but I'll fat shame you it's if it's necessary. And yeah, if you're a Disney adult and you're a man who weighs over 250 and you're a woman who weighs over 200, yeah, you don't need to be going to Disney. Buy yourself a fucking a bike or a stationary bike and get some of that weight off. That's what you need to do. Um, I wish they had one price all inclusive. They do that for the what's it for the annual. You get a fat. You don't get the fat. Well, actually, you might. I think they have one where you get a fast pass. You definitely get parking. You get a discount on all of the merchandise. Because I bought my son an annual pass when I was making when I was out in Abu Dhabi and I was making like a ton of per diem. Yeah, that was one of the first things I did, and I have to laugh about that because it shows you like how bad of a person my ex-wife was, because yeah, I'm in a position where I can splurge and do something nice for her and our son. So I bought them each annual passes. The not the Southern California resident. I bought them the real annual passes and was like, "I'm gone for over a year. Here's something for you guys to do that's a nice thing." Now, if someone bought me an annual pass, any annual pass for Disney, I'm going to be thankful and say thank you. All my ex did was complain about how much money I was costing her because now they have to pay for um, hotel rooms, and oh, every time I take our son, he wants a gift, or he wants to buy something, and I was like, this is the big this is the big problem. If you First off, every time you go to Disney, like I can drive to Disney, I could drive right now, spend a whole day. I would get there in 2 hours, so I'd get there at 10 a.m. I could stay until 7, drive back, be back home by 9, 10 p.m. And I've spent a full day at Disney. Like, I don't have to stay at a hotel. That was her choice. Um, with buying gifts and stuff, when I was taking my son, I did create a rule. I said, when we go, you get to buy one thing. You get to pick out one thing. And once you pick out that one thing, that's it. And sometimes we had to have some discussions where he's like, I want this, but I also want this. I was like, or when we get there, first off, he'd be like, I want this. I'd be like, remember, you get one thing. So if I get you that and you see something else later that's better, we're not going to come back. And we're not going to return this. And I'd be like, so do you want to wait? And he'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, let's get it. If this is what you want, let's get it on the way out. So we'd go and we'd spend our whole day and we'd have fun. And sometimes he'd look at other stuff. And I'd be like, okay, which of the things we saw, you liked this, you like this, you like this. Which one did you want? That's your choice, but you get to pick your one thing. 90% of the time, he wanted to go to the Lego store and pick out a Lego set. But I already, I wasn't going, I had money. That's the other thing. I go to Disney when I have money to go to Disney. I don't spend money I don't have. It took me many years of realizing that money is emotional. And that's why, believe it or not, that's why a lot of people are broke. They're very emotional about money. And that's one thing I'm very thankful that I'm in therapy for, because I can deal with my emotions and I can deal with the emotion of money. So many people cannot. And if you can deal with the emotion of money, then you're making business decisions like without emotions. This is a business decision. And that's where I get very good. I also wait to buy things. If I see something I don't do, this was taught to me. Don't do a spontaneous purchase. Wait a couple days. And when I see something I want, I'm like I'll show you right now. My Amazon. I've got my Amazon thing. I've got 5 things. I don't know if you guys can see that. I've got 5 things in my. Damn it. I've got 5 things in my cart right now. And it's because I see something I want. I'm like, I'm going to add this to my cart. I'm not checking out. I'll put it in my cart, and then a couple days later, I'll look and be like, nah, I don't need that. And then I'll get rid of it. And when I do that, I normally look through stuffed in my save for later and be like, oh, yeah, that was something I did want that I deleted. That, yeah, I really do want that or need that. And then I buy it. But it's not an impulse purchase. I'd rather spend my money on others. Well, yeah, and that's what I was doing. I was getting my son an annual pass to Disney, and it made him happy. King's Dominion season passes, yeah. King's Dominion is pretty nice. I keep trying to talk my family into going to Colonial Williamsburg, and yeah, they keep pushing back on me. They always want to go to the Outer Banks. I freaking hate the Outer Banks. There's nothing to do with the Outer Banks other than the beach. I'm okay with the beach. I'm just not a beach guy. But it's not easy to travel anywhere in the Carolinas. Nowhere. And so I was like, screw the Outer Banks. Yeah, you do the same thing for your cart. Yeah, I'm just not I've got friends and family who they do everything impulse. Everything. And like, that's bad for your wallet. Really bad for your wallet. So yeah, Disney's failing. They are failing. And they're about ready. I think they're going to lose money on the Avengers Doomsday movie. Everything I'm hearing about that movie, it seems to be a nightmare. So if you're asking me, I think it would make money if they kept the budget under control, but the budget is ridiculous. So yeah, I have divested from Disney. I'm just looking through the stories here. Coachella. Coachella is just a new reason for women to dress like whores. And I live near Coachella. I can say that. I've seen how these women dress. Sorry, not sorry. Well, we stay broke because he spends all the money. I'm stingy. So it's funny because when my marriage was good, we would do, I called it the State of the Union, where we would sit down and, I was approaching things of let's remove the emotion of money. And I'd say, okay, here's how much we have. Here's what I anticipate we'll make. What are our priorities? What are we going to save? Where are our priorities of saving? What are our priorities of spending? And we started doing that. And our relationship was so good when we talked about those things. And it really helped drive decisions. Like I had my fund money, she had her fund money, and it was, I want to buy this. Well, do you have it in your fund money? No, I don't. Okay. So what are we going to cut back on, or what decisions are we going to make to get that? We're not just going to, willy-nilly spend money. And it's funny because when my marriage was breaking down, my ex stopped wanting to sit down and have those discussions. And there was one day where we'd gone down to Cabazon, and in Cabazon, there's outlet mall. It's an outlet mall, and you can go in all the stores. You can buy their stuff, and it's an outlet mall, so you get it a little bit cheaper than what you normally would. But you spend a lot of money. And she had gotten a new job, so our whole thing of going down there was to get her new professional clothes. And I'm not joking. I know we spent over $350, probably even closer to $500, which for a one-time thing, new job, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. This is a professional investment. You need professional clothes if you're going to have a professional, big girl job. Totally get it. No problem. And then a week later, she was like, what did you have for lunch today? And I was like, oh, I went to the convenience store. I picked up a sandwich. This is why we're broke. I was like, what? You buy lunch every day. I'm like, yeah, I go to the convenience store. I pick up a sandwich, maybe a drink. All told, and I still do this today. Every day I probably spend about $15. $15 for my lunch. Is it a ton of money? No. Could I save money by packing a lunch? Absolutely I could. But also that requires prior planning. It requires investment of time. If you're that type of person, good on you. I'm just with my lifestyle where I'm currently at and where I was at that time, I'm not there. That's fine. That's fine. Because to me, 5 times 15 is what? $85? Oh, wait, no, it's more than that. I'm just going to use my calculator because I don't want to think. Oh, $75. So I was close. I was thinking 85. That's $75 a week. Okay. $150 every 2 weeks, $300 a month. So we had just spent $300 in one weekend for her, which I was completely fine with. And probably even more than that. But again, I'm going to say 350. But yet we were broke because over the course of a month, I spent 300, which is still less. Yeah, that is not at all why we were broke. That $300 a month would not suddenly lift us out of poverty. That's $3,600 a year. Okay. If someone gave me $3,600, yeah, I'd be great, but it's not going to lift me out of poverty. It's not even, that wouldn't, I'm not in poverty, wasn't then, but it even wouldn't put me into a different tax bracket. So yeah, that was not why we were poor. We were poor because I was a Marine on a Marine salary. And she earned a salary which was significantly less, but both had an investment of clothing. I had to invest in uniforms. She had to invest in professional clothes. Again, not a problem. But don't come at me. And here's the thing. Like if you have a problem with me spending $15 every day, if you have that problem, why are you not making me a lunch? You're the one with the problem. I'm okay with it. I'm perfectly okay with $15. If you want to say you're limited to $10 a day, okay, yeah, I'll make some choices. But like telling me this is why we're broke. No. I have to eat. YouTube alone doesn't pay enough for, yeah, most creators can't live off YouTube money. That's why people are like, oh, your views are down. You're not making as much. Like, I'm doing things for what I want my channel to be long term. If I were trying to live off of YouTube money, you guys have a bigger audience than me. Madam Mayor and Brett have a much bigger audience than me, and they're the ones saying you can't live off YouTube. No, I do things to make money. I do things for my YouTube and, well, anything of this show. It's not just YouTube. It's YouTube. It's Rumble. It's Facebook. It's X. My business probably makes more money from X than I ever do YouTube. So why would I cater to all these haters who like say stuff? Why would I cater to YouTube? I'm making more money off X. Like this show is streamed out by an entity that my business partner owns, and he deposits that money, that the extra money that we make, into our. He's like, yeah, it makes sense for us to move money into this business account, and I'm perfectly fine with it because, again, he's got on X 60,000 followers. On X, that's way more than my YouTube, way more. So yeah, I'm perfectly happy with all this stuff being out on X. Perfectly happy. Way more people are going to see it. Way more people are going to potentially see it. And I get way more fans from it. So yeah, it's all these people who think they know, and then when they start only talking about YouTube, like, hey, I love Tug. I love Tug. I love Jeremy. I'll tell you, I'll give you my honest assessment of both. They are right now focusing way too much on the fleas. Both of them had posts about things the fleas are saying. Look, I'm not on board with that. If they want to do it, God bless them. Good luck. Best of luck to you. I'm just not going to do it. Why? Because I recognize that the fleas are a distraction. You must release content daily, cover controversial subjects, and create a hostile environment. It's not worth it to us. I mean, a lot of that's very true. Very true. People would say even the stuff I talked about today were controversial. I'm just going to give my opinion on things and talk about things. We get people who don't like my opinion, and that's okay. People here who disagree with me, come on. Me and TC, I don't know if TC's here this morning. We've said, come on and talk with us, debate us. I can be cordial to someone and disagree with them. I happily will. But I'm going to, at the end of the day, I'm going to talk about the things I want to talk about, and I'm going to do the show I want to do. And for those who are like, I don't like your content, I don't give a shit. Move on. I am perfectly okay losing people who don't like me. Like, if you don't like this show, it's not for you then. I'm okay with that. I am not trying to appeal to everybody. I'm not. But to the people who are here and here almost every day, I value you guys. In fact, there's a couple of you, and it's already started. Hellhound got a t-shirt from me. A couple of you guys are going to be getting some surprises in the mail. Because I value you people who come here, who give me feedback, and who talk to me every day. We were talking about the feedback yesterday of the chat. Are you guys happy with this look of it? Is this easier to read? I'm trying to help you guys out with this. Um, I'm on the solos. Okay, so there's the screen. So I might move the screen over. If I need to make the chat bigger, I will. I'm happy to do it. Yeah, maybe it's a military thing. If you've been in the military long enough, like me and Brad have, like the military has a lot of drama. And after you've been around the block, you're like, oh yeah, I'm not getting involved in the drama. There's a lot of people who just try to start shit. And that's the good thing about the military. It's a machismo organization. So like eventually the men will be in charge and then say, I don't care about this shit. This is not a big deal. We're not talking about this. This is a distraction. Absolutely. Absolutely. There are so many people like with the fleas, they don't matter. They don't matter. They're not they're just talking. They're not going to ever hurt me. If they start actually like early on they were trying to get people to report Jeremy's channel and stuff like that, then I was on board. Like that's wrong. Just like the quartering. The quartering took down Kino Casino's channel. That's wrong. 100% wrong. That should never be allowed. Oh yeah. And when there's stuff about Jeremy and George, I talk about it. The whole thing, Fishing Game was there yesterday. I was watching Willis's stuff. I didn't watch all of it, but Fishing Game was there. And I had some people, they messaged me about it. And, we were talking. I was like, I didn't do it. But some of these people, like that is what matters. What John and Lynette are doing, that does matter. Absolutely. Because they live near Jeremy. They've done things to affect Jeremy. John with his guns, with their signs. Yeah, that all matters. These people are going to jail. They are going to jail. It's just a matter of time because they won't stop. And that's the only time where the fleas really matters, because they could be helping John and Lynette by saying that you guys need to stop what you're doing. If you're going to go against Jeremy, there's avenues where you legally can, but that's not what they're doing. Like, yeah, encouraging them to do things, some of the things they've been doing against Jeremy is just wrong. Absolutely, Wise Angel. False striking. And just because someone got struck on something doesn't mean it's a false strike. But like with Kino Casino, yeah, they weren't harassing anybody. They were talking about the quartering, who has made a big deal about his wife. He has made public posts during arguments with his wife, calling her a whore. He ditched her in an airport. That's not healthy. And apparently they've worked to repair their marriage by him allowing her to have sexual relations with other men. And that is the speculation. Well, guess what, quartering? You did this. You trashed your wife publicly, and now people are wondering about it. And they're going to wonder about it. It stinks. You should address it and say, yeah, these people are nuts if it's not true. But getting a YouTube channel taken down, like, stop with your drama. Quartering, stop with your drama. Oh, absolutely, Cinder. I think, James, the framing is just because it's cheaper for the wood. You can do wood framing on the inside of a steel building, because I looked into building a bardominium myself before I bought this place. I did look into it. So you can do it, but the John and Lynette get like they have their priorities all jacked up. Yeah, in 2 years nothing has changed. Um, I think John Lynette will go to jail. That'll be the big, yeah. I think that's going to be the big thing, and that's where it's. I think Jeremy will win a lawsuit against Levy County, and that's the only place I can see anyone getting money out of it. Steel framing is cheaper. Mm, I can say it's been a couple years. When I looked into it, it was not, and that was 2022. And wood had gone up in price, but steel was not cheaper. So it could have changed. You could be correct. But yeah. Uh, John Lynette, the, the fleas can talk about everything they want. If I were Jeremy, I wouldn't be doing, I wouldn't be talking about them so much. I would be giving because the fleas are in a battle with their neighbor. I would be giving their neighbor a platform. That's what I'd be like. Oh, you want to give our neighbors a platform? We're going to give your neighbor a platform. Equal. It's just as equal. Right? Right? I think Levy County, I think they realize they screwed up. That's why in the Dan Owens case, that's why they're trying to mediate. I truly I think they realize, yeah, like we might get a district judge to agree with us, but if this goes to an appeal. But again, Jeremy should be using his platform. Like Levy County's done things against him. He should be using his platform to change the laws in Florida and he's got a big following. Change the laws in Florida so that this doesn't happen to anyone else. That if a sheriff or any other law enforcement is not adequately following the law, pass a law in Florida to have the state correct it. Pass a law to change qualified immunity, because he's going up against qualified immunity with Dan Owens. Right, Georgie? You're figuring out who your circle is, who the people are that have your back. And you guys have seen, I've had people in my circle who didn't have my back. And that's okay. I just won't work with those people anymore. And I've moved on. Like, I was trying to move on, but they wanted my attention. Isn't that amazing? In every case, the people I just say I'm not going to work with that person, they still want my attention. It's like, move on, be a man and move on. I'm not going to work with you again. Stop being a little bitch. Yeah, yeah. I I will still follow because there are parts of Jeremy's case I think are important. Like the whole Dan Owens thing. I think the Dan Owens thing, that'll be hard with qualified immunity. I think he can. I think he can affect that. I think he could. Now the whole thing of where they're dismissing his case and saying that YouTube is not your customer. I think that is a prime. If they were to if Jeremy were to keep fighting that will go in front of the Supreme Court. I think the Supreme Court. You guys got to understand, a lot of people are like, oh, you got to take this to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not going to take a lot of cases, but the cases that they will take are the ones where this hasn't been defined yet, or there's a gray area, and the Supreme Court, they understand that there's a heavy hand, but they also understand when they set a precedent, the lower courts, for the most part, will follow. Eventually, they all will follow, but for the most part, they'll follow. You'll get these crazy ones like Boasberg who are just doing whatever, but that's the exception rather than the norm. And yeah, them saying that would be like saying, and I've used this example before, that if I started if I started defaming Disney or NBC, okay, like there are people out there. I'm not saying this, but there are people out there saying that Disney is sex trafficking, right? I'm not saying that, but there are people that say that. If I were a big YouTuber or a big personality and I started saying that, Disney could sue me, okay? Legitimately could sue me over that and say that I'm hurting their business. And uh and they could say our movie tickets are down and our ratings are down. And maybe, that would be an argument. But to say that they don't have a a relationship with their customers. You know what's funny, Brett, uh, about Crowder? A very good friend of mine worked with Crowder. And I've talked to several people who worked for Crowder. Um, he's a great guy to watch. He's not a great guy to work for. I'm not. Maybe if I can, and one of those guys has been on my show. He's been a guest on my show. Maybe I can get him to talk about um, his time with Crowder. If uh, I'll tell you, Dave Landau, who I've invited on my show personally, talked to him, invited him on my show. Great comedian, has his own platform, his own show, which is a good show. I really enjoy Dave. He's my favorite comedian currently. Um, he worked for Crowder, and he's got. If you search Dave Landau talks about Crowder, he talks about why he left Louder with Crowder. Um, there was some pretty and like like the way Crowder runs his show, I got no problem with. Like he had Dave talks about this. He had a light that he would press, which meant that Dave and I forget the other guy, he didn't want them to talk because he was just going to rant and just talk on his own. No problem with that. But Dave talks about how he also does his stand up, which he did before Crowder and did while he was on Crowder. And did Crowder introduce him to new audiences? And now more people are coming to his shows? 100%. 100%. But he was producing a special, and Crowder was trying to tell him that Crowder owned a percentage of, and was trying to get him to sign a contract that would give Crowder ownership of that special. And like Dave said, he said if Crowder was going to produce it, Crowder has, he's got his essentially his own channels and network, his own business things. If he was going to produce the special, I would have no problem with him having ownership of it. Like, because you're putting forward the money for the venue, for the cameramen, for if you're gonna sell it on DVD, if you're gonna print off merch to sell. Like he said, yeah, then I would have no problem him owning at least a piece of it, maybe even a majority of it, and then me keeping a piece of it. Just piece and royalties and stuff like that. But he was trying to do that without producing any of it, and Dave was like, no, I'm putting my money and my effort into it. These are my jokes, my ideas, my hard work. I'm keeping the ownership of it. And that's very fair. And Dave was just talking about, Crowder wanted to do these contracts. Um, I think he went through a mental health crisis when his divorce happened. And as someone who has gone through similar, I totally get it. But I think Dave is great. I think Crowder is great. I can still, uh, I can detach Crowder as a personality from his business things that I don't agree with. Um, I think you think I'm thinking of a different Crowder? No, Louder with Crowder is who I'm talking about. Louder with Crowder. Um, and Dave Landau was on his show. A different Crowder. What Crowder are you talking about? Oh, damn it. Yeah, I'm talking about Steven Crowder. And this is Steven Crowder right here. He's got his little mug club, great, which is really smart. Look, the mug club right here. You join that, you get I believe you get a different mug every month. Oh, you're talking about a worship musician? Okay. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought you were talking Steven Crowder, which I really like Steven Crowder, and yeah, I know his stuff. So I'm sorry that I got off on that. But yeah, Steven Crowder has a very big audience. But again, a guy like, and I brought stories to his people. And but I'll tell you this, while he's a big YouTuber, big personality, and he's on other stuff, he won't do stories unless they're exclusives. Um, which I don't think is smart. And because I'm a journalist, I've written things, I've done stories on things, sometimes exclusive, sometimes not. Exclusives are great. You're when you do an exclusive, you're dictating what how it's being talked about for a large portion of it. For others, or to not do a story because others are talking about it, I think is a big, big mistake, because you're missing out on big stories. Or to say, I'll only do this story if you're only doing a story that, and I get this from other journalists, we're not going to do that story because no one else is talking about it. That's a mistake, because there are big stories out there, or potentially big stories that you could have exclusive to. So I never do that. I will sit and talk with people, but you have to be careful doing a show like this, because one, and I've already talked about this a little bit, people will try to use your platform. I've had lots of people try to use my platform. Use my platform to get access to. I've had people reach out to me trying to get access to Jeremy. I've had people reach out to me try to get access to Tug and Megan. We just don't have that type of relationship. I have a very good relationship, I think, with all of them, because some people. I'm trying not to insult people, but some people can be bothersome. Like, people will send me stuff that I already have. I'm not upset about it. I tell them thank you. But some people will get upset if I do certain things, or I take sides on things, or I if I avoid a certain subject, people get upset with you. And they'll then start messaging you about that. I'm not upset at those people for doing it. It's just, when you're Tug and Megan, I know how much it happens to me. When you're Tug and Megan with a much bigger audience, it's going to happen way more. So I don't do that to them. And I'm not in their circle. You know what I mean? Like, I'm friendly, very friendly with them. I love them to death, but we're not best friends type of thing. We have a professional relationship, and I have a lot of professional relationships. It doesn't mean I'm buddy with everybody. If someone says, "Hey, would you send this to them?" Depends on the story, because I've had crazy people come on this platform, people who lost their freaking mind. And I've had people who, I have to vet every story that people bring me. Unless if I trust them. Georgie today sent me a story. I trust Georgie. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this story. But some people have sent me stories, and I've got to go through it, and it's got to pass the sniff test. Like, does this seem good? And some people want to use my platform as a jumping off point for something else. I would love to have a female co-host, a veteran female co-host. I have not found it, because the women who I've approached, who I think would be great on camera and would be interesting, they uh they just don't want to do it. But that's true of a lot of veterans. But I'm specifically looking for a female veteran. But a lot of times they just don't want to do it. The female veterans who want to do my show normally are trying to do something else. They're trying to use me as a springboard to something else, which I'm not necessarily opposed to. But if you're going to develop, if you're like, hey, I want to do a female thing of Veteran Nation, at the end of the day, Veteran Nation is mine. It's mine and my business partners, and we own that. So if a female comes and says, I want to do a female Veteran Nation, okay, I'll talk to you and listen to you, but you're not going to then take my branding and my product and run off to Instagram and then tell me it's yours. And I've had that. Like that specifically, but when they've talked about, oh, I want to do this, do this. And I've talked to female veterans. I'm like, look, you're trying to do this. I've had female veterans who are trying to do their own business thing. And I've said, look, keep that, do a show or do something with me in Veteran Nation so then you can plug that. My friend Kelly, she's interested, really, she's got severe PTSD, but it doesn't manifest the way people will say, like, she has avoidance issues, and she's like, I think she'd be great on camera. I think she could do some really good shows. 100%, I do think she could. She's got some avoidance issues because she's scared that, and she's had this in the past, of men who've become obsessed with her, even though she's a lesbian, and will then track her down, follow her, show up to her house. So that's why a big reason she's got a lot of PTSD, and it's also a big reason why she hasn't pulled the plug on some of that stuff. And that's why. Oh, I really want her to do her own segment too. I do. I really do. Maybe I'll see if she'll come on tomorrow, because I need to figure OBS out with guests. I really need to figure that out. So what I've told her she needs to figure out, because she wants to do things, like she's got goals. And I've told her to meet those goals, here's how doing something with me can fit into that. And like, I've got another buddy who he golfs all the time. He's a big golfer. And I'm like, dude, and he's a veteran. And I'm like, start reviewing the courses. Because he makes golf clubs and he sells them. And I go, start reviewing the courses, do that as a segment for Veteran Nation. I go, and then, say, hey, you guys can also follow me on Instagram or TikTok or wherever else I am. So that way you're getting in front of my audience for the review of the military golf courses. Okay. You get that. But then come over here come follow me for more golf content. And then he's building his own brand separate of this show. Don't tell Georgie. No, I think me and Georgie, we've talked about doing a set show on certain things. We have. No worries. I appreciate it. Brett, you should be Brett, you should be doing a show with me. Like, we should do a separate show together once a month. I think we should. Because we're both veterans. And I think that can appeal, depending on what we figure out to do, that can appeal to a different group. Same thing with Larry and Sansi. I understand why they don't, they have the retired life. And I don't want to affect that too much. But yeah, okay. Yeah, I think there's something we could definitely do. And the other thing is, if you know a female veteran, I would love to have a female, even if it's only once a month. If I could get 2 females to do Female veteran nation. I would love that, especially if they're like, hey, I'm selling my own things. Okay, just do it once a month on here. I think that's important. I think female veterans have issues that they need to talk. They have separate issues. For instance, have you guys ever heard of the uniform tax? Female veterans have to keep more uniform items than men, but yet we both get the same uniform allowance. That's unfair. That is unfair. Um, there are other issues. I'm not going to get into them because, again, me talking about them is one thing. A woman talking about her own experience is a totally different thing. Um, but yeah, Brett and Skip, WWE wrestling. I have not watched WWE in 26 years. I've, uh, but I've been offered to do other shows, which I have not turned down. I have not turned down. In fact, I've said I will do them if these conditions are met. Uh, because, like, I'll give you an example. There is a Yeah, we can do it. Like if we want to do the trauma show, the PTSD and trauma show. Here's the thing about that. People are like, you should do that. It's not going to get a ton of views. It won't get a ton of views. And I'm okay with that. I am perfectly okay with that. Because that's the thing. When it show like when I had Amanda on, uh, I thought that was important to have Amanda on the show because she's doing work that someone can benefit from. And that's an important thing. Um, a lot of these shows, like, they're not going to get thousands of views. They probably won't even get hundreds of views. But if it's something that someone can benefit from, I'm all about it. I am all about it. And, that's the type of things I'm interested in. We'll see if other people are. Yeah, my pleasure. And Amanda, I I just don't remember things. So if you're like, "Hey, I want you to plug Billy again," I'm happy to. Because I Love You is the name of her group. Make sure you guys follow that on um, Facebook. Because I Love You, Billy, Billy. Yeah, and I'm okay with that. It just uh, and I say this that it's not going to get a ton of views because like I started this show with a co-host. This show was called Veteran Nation with the Sergeant and the Skipper. And my co-host was frustrated that we weren't getting more views. I was okay with it because I knew we have to build an audience. And yeah, you'll get people who casually watch that are like, this isn't for me. And then you'll get people who do. I try to celebrate the people who are here all the time. Uh, so yeah, like Georgie, huge fan and supporter of my show. Hellhound, huge fan and supporter. These are the people. Amanda, huge fan and support. I want to help you guys support you with the stuff that you're doing, and especially if it makes you money, because it's so damn hard to make money some days. I want to do something with, and I've talked to him about this with Slug. Me and Slug together is just absolute chaos. If we want to do the once a month the pop culture chaos show, I'm down for it. I am fucking down for it. There's other people I'm like, you need to come on, and they're like, I don't want to be seen on camera. I'm like, come up with a logo. People will hear your voice. If you want your voice changed, we can change it. You don't have to come on camera. That's the beauty of this. And a lot of people do very successful shows and they've never been on camera. Uh, People don't know what Tug looks like. People don't know, like, I've seen pictures of Yellow Flash, but I don't think he's ever shown himself on camera. And that's perfectly fine. Some people are like, I wish I wouldn't have showed myself on camera. I'm okay with it. Here's the thing. I want people to see my face. I do. That is why if I had to do over again, I actually would not. I would still show my face on camera. Because there are things I've talked about, like with my PTSD journey, that I want people to see my face and know that I am truly talking about these things and that they're important things and that, you know, that I'm being sincere when I talk about these things. There are things I talk about where I'm not being sincere, and I want you guys to know when it's a joke. And I will say Megan and Flux were talking about this last week, where they have they were creating anime photos of themselves where they could switch and show different, like, how they're feeling, which I think is funny.
You're done. You're done.
Someone just got put into timeout. I don't care. I don't care. That's Georgie knows the rules. She knows how to enforce them. Yeah, like me and Slug together, people would either one of two reactions.
Disneyland!
They'd have this
Disneyland!
or this. Or
Gay!
should I make that one bigger? Hey, Christina, good to see you this morning. He probably does. There are some men who secretly like that punishment. You know, they yeah, they like being pegged. Oh. All right, guys. I've been going for, wow, almost 2 hours. I don't like going too long. I don't think I don't think it's good for me. I don't think it's good for the audience. Unless if I'm gaming or doing something fun. Yeah, I don't think that. I think that actually hurts your streams. Because it hurts your watch time. So, like, I can do a live stream. People watch for 30 minutes, which is very good and respectable. But if I do 3 hours, you know, that's now what, 10%. So it hurts your watch time. All right, guys, I'm going to get going. I appreciate you guys all being here. I really do. Thank you so much. And as always, thank you for being worth serving.
Coffee brewing as the sun peeks through the haze. Birds are chirping, serenading morning's praise. Front porch creaks as dreams fade away. America's awakened to a brand new day. Old vinyl spinning a sweet old tune. Day starts dancing under a sleepy moon. Loose print smudges on fingers of grace. America's awakened at her own steady pace. Sips of sunshine in a coffee cup. Simple moments lifting spirits up. From the mountains to the sandy shore. Morning in America, want just a little more. Neighbors waving with a friendly rise. Kids with backpacks chasing daylight skies. Eyes cooling on a windowsill so fine. America's awakened with a heart full of shine. Old vinyl spinning a sweet old tune. Day starts dancing under a sleepy moon. Newsprint smudges on fingers of grace. America's awakened at her own steady pace. Sips of sunshine in a coffee cup. Simple moments lifting spirits up. From the mountains to the sandy shore. Morning in America, want just a little more. Neighbors waving with a friendly rise. Kids with backpacks chasing daylight skies. Eyes cooling on a windowsill so fine. America's awakened with a heart full of shine. Neighbors waving with a friendly rise. Kids with backpacks chasing daylight skies. Eyes cooling on a windowsill so fine. America's awakened with a heart full of shine. Tractors rumble, fields coming alive. Big wheels turning where hopes and dreams strive. Laughter echoes down the old dirt road. America's awakening to lighten her load. America's awakening to lighten her load.
Hey there, Veteran Nation fans. I am talking to you today because I have teamed up with a company that's dedicated to supporting veterans. What they do is they help you gather all the medical evidence that you're going to need to submit a VA disability claim. Now, it's all that is designed to help you get the benefits that you have earned. Right now, more than 17 million veterans don't have their full benefits. And if that sounds something familiar either for yourself or a family member, now is the time to act. With this company, what they offer is free consultations with the medical team so they can figure out how they can best help you. And what they provide is board-certified doctors with experience working with the VA, comprehensive medical documentation for both physical and mental conditions, and the services that they provide include nexus letters, telehealth evaluations, DBQs, TDIU, aid and attendance, and so much more. What you're going to do is you're going to click the link that's in the description of this video and sign up for a free consultation. Make sure you do me a favor, share this, and also tag a veteran. Let's help more